perfect storm for Korean semiconductor chips on the horizon? That and more on Korea Technology Week. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. J.R. Reagan. In this episode, we'll be discussing South Korean semiconductor manufacturers and the expectation of expanding chip demand driven by COVID-19 pandemic for what many call a super cycle in 2021. Although the COVID pandemic was a distressing encounter for many companies, it accelerated digitization efforts and ignited the demand for memory chips. Semiconductors will continue to strengthen the export-reliant South Korean economy during the present year, 2021, with an expected resurgence of a super chip cycle that was seen in 2018 as well, under favorable demand and its market value conditions. South Korea's semiconductor exports, powered by increasing demand for DRAM and system chips, DRAM being memory chips, are anticipated to top $100 billion for the current year. Korea's Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy, as well as the Korea Semiconductor Industry Association, estimate the shipment of chips will continue to grow up to 10.2% this year, ranging from $107.5 billion to $111 billion in 2021. This would make it the second highest performing year on record in the industry's history since 2018, when Korea exported semiconductors worth $126.7 billion. According to Korea Ministry data, chip exports exceeded $99.2 billion in 2020, up about 5% from the prior year. In particular, device chip exports reported an all-time record of $30.3 billion, becoming the fifth largest export commodity in the country. The ministry estimates that device chips will continue to progress in 2021, with exports expanding between $31 to $33 billion due to the increasing demand for 5G, communication chips, image sensors, and strong foundry orders from fabless manufacturers. With chip exports soaring, memory chips are also envisioned to post significant increases, up 12% from 2020 in the range of $70 to $72 billion. Citing information from World Semiconductor Trade Statistics, the ministry announced that Korea's investment in chip factories will increase this year by 20.4% to $18.9 billion, the highest among the major chip-making nations, followed up by $16.8 billion from China and $15.6 billion from Taiwan. However, the potential market boom is only part of the tale. The technological transformation caused by the coronavirus pandemic has intensified a worldwide demand for memory chips. The South Korean chip giant Samsung informed its institutional investors recently at a forum that the global demand for the DRAM market is estimated to increase by 15 to 20% and 30 to 35% increase for the NAND flash memory chips in 2021. Through its current 128-layer single-stack technology, Samsung has achieved NAND memory market dominance. But its technical strength was sorely tested recently when its U.S. competitor Micron revealed last month that it had released the world's first 176-layer NAND stacking memory. In order to keep pace with this trend, Samsung announced that its double-stack technology will be utilized to produce the latest 7th-generation VNAND flash chips, which could possibly leverage extreme two-stack technology to create 256-layer stacking. Higher stacks of memory chips mean greater capacity and increased bit density. So what is this new stacking memory technology all about? A NAND flash chip is a form of non-volatile memory that maintains the storage of its data even when power is unavailable. The amount of memory cell layers stacked in a system means the more layers, greater capacity, and improved bit density is achieved. Compared to a single stack approach, a double stack system makes it possible to integrate more layers easily, but it also requires more complex manufacturing and specialized etching technology. So the race is on between Samsung, other chip manufacturers in Korea, and the rest of the world about who can develop and succeed in this new stacking technology to create more memory chips faster to respond to the pent-up demand that's being created by the coronavirus pandemic. And just when it got interesting with stacking technology for semiconductors, along comes AI, or artificial intelligence. The Korea government announced it will invest 125.3 billion won, or $114.1 million US dollars in 2021, for a national artificial intelligence semiconductor project. The goal of the Korean government is to nurture the next generation of memory chips, one with artificial intelligence embedded in it, with the goal of 20% global market share for Korean companies by 2030. The South Korean government has made no secret of its ambition to be a key player in the global artificial intelligence industry, including making semiconductors with a powerful AI functionality. Korea's Information and Communications Technology Regulator recently announced plans to develop up to 50 types of AI-focused system semiconductors by 2030. The government will be on the hunt for thousands of Korean AI and chip experts locally to lead this new wave of innovation. These efforts come amid growing demand for AI-embedded chips, which, by McKinsey estimates, could account for almost 20% of global semiconductor demand and generate $67 billion in revenue by 2025. The South Korea IT industry has also doubled down on the development of neural processing units, or NPUs, the memory behind the next generation of chips that powers smart applications spanning from homes to roads and industrial sites. Some say that Korea has the lead in the AI chip race, as it is the home of the world's top two memory market leaders, Samsung and SK Hynix, and has 5G network in full swing. The 2030 semiconductor vision of Samsung shows what this is all about. When AI semiconductor technology becomes further sophisticated, memory and processors will ultimately be integrated into one. Experts forecast that if Samsung takes the lead in AI semiconductors, it will create tremendous synergy combined with its global market leadership in memory technology. Some results are already in. State-run Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute, or ETRI, and a local telecom provider recently developed a coin-sized AI chip that can crunch 40 trillion floating point operations per second with a max power consumption of just 15 watts. A remarkable progress from AlphaGo that won games against Korea's top Go player in 2016. The AlphaGo brain then performed 3 trillion integer operations per second with a huge power consumption due to backup servers. In comparison, a typical smartphone processes about 100 gigabytes of data per second, or 100 billion operations per second. Both Google and Huawei developed AI chips that can perform 100 trillion operations per second, but they consume 300 watts at peak, which means the technology barrier is still an obstacle before we see widespread commercial application. The AI semiconductor market is expected to grow above the memory semiconductor market in about 10 years. Market research firm Gartner predicts the AI semiconductor market will grow to about $34.3 billion in 2023 And Allied Market Research says that it estimates the global semiconductor market for AI will reach about $37.8 billion in 2025. All this underscores South Korea's semiconductor and artificial intelligence push as part of its post-pandemic and COVID recovery, leading to a perfect storm in semiconductors and creating a new cycle of technology innovation. That's all for this week's show. Follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn at Idea Explorer or my website ideaexplorer.com. Feel free to leave comments or suggestions about the show and tune in next week for more news and trends about Korea technology.